Another type of special order item is the generic special order item. Now, this may be important for you if you're doing special orders, such as things for like doors, windows, things like that, and you don't want to have to put an individual item or individual SKU for every time you need a particular special order item. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about here. So we're going to go ahead and create a sales order using that item. And again, as always, we need to select a customer. And on the detail screen here, we're going to enter the SOI, or special order item. What we need to do here is we need to change the description. So this is actually a special order door. We'll say it's a 6-panel. And the price is $1,200. We're not sure what the cost is going to be until we receive the purchase order in. So this is another example of that purchase order cost tracking to the sales order. So we'll accept that. We'll hit save. So we've entered in the description, we've entered in the price, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a purchase order for this door. And so just as in the other examples, we'll go to options to create POs. We'll select this, and this is where this entering in the part number, etc., is very important because we need to make sure that it's accurate. Oftentimes you may call in this special order, so maybe there's not a standard part number, so you can also put SOI here. And then just make sure you have the correct vendor in for this item so that when you create the purchase order, it is accurately created. So we're going to go to add vendor, and we'll just add our vendor here. And this vendor part number, now this vendor part number is going to get added in the lookup by for the SOI item. We'll take a look at that here in just a moment. But traditionally, the best thing to do here is just again to put SOI. And we'll explain that a little bit more here in a moment when we look at the item screen. So we're going to say the purchase unit is the same in EA1. We'll say OK. So now we have our part number, our vendor, and order quantity. And we don't know the cost yet. We're going to wait to get that cost upon the receipt of the purchase order. So we got this, and we're going to say proceed. So we went and received that PO, which is covered in a separate video. But upon receipt of that PO, we learned that our cost was $790. So once that PO was received, that cost was automatically carried across to this sales order and then reflected in this sales order here to accurately depict to us what our GP percentage is for this SO. So let's go take a look at this SOI item in our inventory and just take a note of a couple things that we can see here. Now earlier when I mentioned the vendor part number, when you assign a vendor to this SOI item, whenever you're creating the purchase orders from the sales order and you put a reference number there, that gets added here. Now, you may do special orders like this with this generic SKU from several different vendors, but that's okay. So that way, whenever you create that sales order and you are selecting the vendor, then when you hit the drop down there, instead of saying add vendor, you'll have your sort of standard vendors that you would normally order that special order item from in that list. So then you can choose from those. So that's why instead of a standard reference number, we're just going to put SOI in that field. So it helps us just by giving us a list of things here. One thing to take note of here is we're going to do a variable costing. Maybe you know that generally, you have a variable cost of around 70%. You could just kind of put that as a general marker there if you want after you check this box. And then the get, whenever you enter the SOI item into the ring sale screen or into a sales order, you can have the option to put in the description or the price as you enter the item in, editing this description, which does not edit it on the item level here, but does in that particular sales order or ring sale.